be champions, we got to play like champions.
Running down nets and winning a trophy, that's what it's all about.
Two-hand slam dunk, Sam Decker. Oh, that was nasty. Driving to the rim, slam dunk. The Wisconsin Badgers are champions of the Big Ten Conference.
We're still not satisfied with this.
They will return to the Final Four.
And good evening and welcome to our special Return for the Title live in Indianapolis. I'm Michelle Lee.
And I'm Jay Wilson. By this time tomorrow night, we figure that the Badgers in Kentucky will have tipped off, depending on how long the first game Michigan State and Duke go. But the Badgers certainly will be hoping for a better outcome than they did in the national semifinals last year. But Final Four weekend certainly got off to a great start for the Badgers' Frank Kaminsky. He won 2 national major awards today. Kaminsky was elected the Basketball Writers Association of America Player of the Year. He's also the Associated Press National Player of the Year as well. Through all these great things that are happening to Kaminsky, he's still just as humble as ever.
To be here and to be honored like this, by AP is obviously awesome. I'm very grateful that a lot of people think of me in this manner. I know I got to thank people like Josh and Coach Ryan who have helped me along the way. Now we're back at this stage. We fought hard to get here.
Well, the Badgers certainly have a coolness and a calmness about themselves this year, even more so than last year, and that's certainly going to bode well for them tomorrow night. And Michelle, they've been saying it all year. They are not afraid of Kentucky. They think they can beat Kentucky, and nobody has yet so far this season.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of Wisconsin fans think they can, so we'll cross our fingers. In the meantime, the Final Four is obviously sweet, but it's a lot sweeter for those actually from the Badger State. And Mike Thompson shows us how people are getting behind the hometown guys.
Yeah, good evening, Michelle.
Yeah.
Bronson Koenig has really been a source of pride for the lacrosse community. He's one of the few who have come out of the area and gone on to play Division I basketball, and the only one, it's probably safe to say, who's played in 2 consecutive Final Fours. And his coaches and teammates from high school couldn't be prouder. The trophy case at Aquinas High School in La Crosse is a crowded one. Among the countless honors, 2 state basketball championships under Bronson Koenig.
Yeah, and so many people in Wisconsin are proud of him, and I know a lot of young people really do look up to him.
Look up to him, yeah.
All right, thank you, Mike.
You bet.
Okay, so a lot of Badger fans are in Indy right now, and they don't have a ticket, and that is actually quite all right because there's still plenty to do and lots of other Badgers to meet, of course. In fact, the Indy Badger Alumni Group is telling people to come on down. It is less than a 6-hour drive from Madison. You can do it in one day. It is so easy. We met up with a few of them at a Badger bar called Keystone Sports Review. It was one of the first bars to start playing Wisconsin games for the alumni group here, and it's really become a second home.
Some of our young alumni said that they came to town, they didn't know anyone, and now they have a second family. You become like their family.
They've done a good job of converting to IU fans to part-time Badger fans here too.
Yeah, but I do have to mention, okay, get this. KSR is known for having some of the best wings in Indy. I promise you, Google it. It is in the top 10. And we should mention that Michigan Staters have already called and asked to come to the bar on Saturday, but their game is a little earlier. But they tell me once that Wisconsin game starts, the Michigan Staters, they gotta go.
I bet you're sitting there wondering, what in the world are those fans doing before the big game? Well, Danica Lewis, out and about, had some fun at Fan Fest.
I saw a few.
Yeah?
Okay, not a few. There were a lot there. There were a lot there. A fairly even split though between Michigan State fans and Duke fans, Kentucky fans, and of course Wisconsin fans arriving in Indy. And there's nothing wrong with a little pre-game competition, right?
Final Four Fan Fest brought to you by Capital One.
Among those aspiring to be Slammin' Sams and Frank the Tanks.
Oriole slam dunk for Jefferson.
A stop in Indy wasn't even planned for the Perez family, let alone all of this.
By chance, the events coincide with our schedule, and here we are to support Bucky. Woohoo!
Just as many stepped up to the challenge, 11-year-old Elijah is ready for his big chance on the court. How many shots can you make in 24 seconds?
I would say probably 4, I'm guessing.
And like some others sporting red, Elijah brings a bit of Badger with him in the form of one of his favorite players.
Probably Josh Gosser, coming from hometown, Port Washington, Wisconsin.
But in a place like this, you're bound to run into some blue. Do you know anything about Wisconsin?
No, I don't pay attention to Wisconsin. I pay attention to the UK.
Just as their teams will do Saturday, the fan feud is settled on the court. It is fun over there. Have you been? Michelle and I were shooting some hoops.
we did.
Indianapolis is such a great big event city.
Yeah.
Like the Super Bowl, rave reviews when it was here, the Big Ten Football Championship, of course, we're familiar with it.
I think you need to take him on it.
We should do a free throw contest.
Yeah. She likes free throws because she's really good at
Let's
them.
go right now.
Okay, the Badgers have become the life of the party at the Final Four. We'll tell you what's made them the media darlings when this special continues.
Welcome back live to Indianapolis. Well, Wisconsin will face the #1 team in the country in Kentucky tomorrow night. And Kevin Lewis joins us now with a look at those Wildcats. Big Blue is big.
Big, literally, figuratively with their fan base, everything like that. Frank Kaminsky, the rest of the Badgers front line, will have its collective hands full tomorrow. Describing the team as long and athletic is one of the most overused phrases in all of sports, but it applies here. Kentucky, one of the only places it actually does. John Calipari has 6 guys on its roster, all over 6'8".
Nigel, they're afraid to ask you a question anymore.
I mean, so since sticking to tradition, prestidigitation, and hello, Mr. Stenographer.
There you go.
I'm done.
Oh, my goodness. He's such a character. Okay, so Nigel Hayes has become quite a media darling because of quotes like that in those news conferences. And actually, I overheard one reporter today while we were working in the media room say, oh, hey, it's the Nigel show today.
Ever since Nigel Hayes last weekend threw out words like onomatopoeia and cattywampus and xylophone to have fun with an NCAA stenographer, court reporters around the country have been furiously typing their approval of that at a couple hundred words a minute. Now, Linda Bauer is one of them. She's an Indianapolis court reporter who has transcribed testimony in death penalty cases and multi-million-dollar medical malpractice lawsuits in silence. Now, however, she's coming out of the shadows because she thinks she needs to find a way to work with the Badgers in the future. This member of the National Court Reporters of America, the NCRA, is now openly talking about the NCAA.
I am a Badger fan now. Nigel, I'm a Nigel fan.
Nigel is Badger forward Nigel Hayes, whose playful banter with a stenographer last weekend typecast him as a hero with folks like Linda.
He's a funny guy. He's a very funny guy, and I kind of like that he likes words. It is important that people realize that this is a skill not everyone can do, so it's nice to have someone notice it.
Thank you very much for that report. Now, if you noticed, Adam was actually standing in front of the beautiful JW Marriott. It is a truly eye-catching hotel in downtown Indy. You cannot miss it. It is also the home to a spectacular March Madness bracket. It is 16 stories tall and said to be 44,000 square feet in size. To put it simply, it is the size of 9 basketball courts and weighs as much as the average car at 2 tons.
Welcome back to Indianapolis. He's the Wisconsin Badger that goes simply by the nickname of Captain America. And Greg Wawrinek is here now with more on the Badger superhero, Josh Gosser.
Yeah, a lot of what Gosser does not show up in the box score. But if the team is looking for a defensive stop or someone to get a loose ball, there's a good chance that the Port Washington senior is going to be there to make a play.
You kind of have to embrace a new role if you want to get on the court, especially here at Wisconsin. So I just want to do anything I could to help the team.
Gosser, everybody else. Thanks, Greg, very much. Well, of course, the Wisconsin players, as we mentioned, had an open workout today at Lucas Oil Stadium.
I love this. This is a really great chance for people to see the players in action without having to pay, you know, thousands of dollars for those Final Four tickets. That is, of course, unless you win the lottery. And Adam's back with a family who actually did win the lottery.
It's the Staffen family from Broadhead. They had entered the NCAA ticket lottery at the end of April of last year. This is after the Badgers had lost to Kentucky in the national semifinal game last year, and they said they were willing to go no matter what. And the fact, though, that the Badgers are here a year later, they say it's like winning the lottery again. As he watched his favorite team make a second straight Final Four, Jacob Staffen chose to dream.
I want to play for Wisconsin and go to the Final Four and win.
The perma grin on Jacob's face was put there by his dad, Todd, who surprised his son on Christmas Day with the news he was going to the Final Four.
I thought he was joking, then he showed me the tickets on his phone, and I was screaming and crying.
The fact the Badgers made it back to the Final Four, count this as the second Staffen family member on Cloud 9.
I've been nervous for the last 6 months.
And what a great dad for keeping a secret for 7 months. Unbelievable. And you got tears in the story. Perfect family, perfect story. Thank you, Adam.
Well, it takes a lot of people and groups to bring the Wisconsin fan experience to life, and for more than 4 decades, one man has led the Badger band, and he has become a bit of a legend in his own right.
Yeah, Adam returns with the story of Mike LaCrone and his love of music and basketball, Adam.
Michelle and Jay, so on our way down here to Indianapolis, we stopped in North Manchester, Indiana. It's about 40 miles west of Fort Wayne. It's a small town of about 1,000 people. Mike LaCrone grew up in the countryside outside of town. And as a kid in Indiana in the 50s, there were really only 2 things that you had to do: play basketball and play in the band. He was actually good at both, but his sister says he was destined to be a band director.
Everything was so simple for him. I mean, it was just natural from ever since I can remember.
As Pat looks at her big brother's success at UW, it seems the journey he's taken is farther than the 300 miles that he's traveled from North Manchester, Indiana.
It amazes me how he is at the university with his sparkle jackets and the way he talks to the audience, because he was rather laid back.
Welcome back to Indy. The Kentucky Wildcats are 5-point favorites over Wisconsin tomorrow night, but what do the guys from Sidelines think? Here's Mike Lukas.
Hi again, everyone, and welcome to Sidelines from the Final Four. I'm Mike Lukas. I'm joined by Jeff Petrikis and Tom Oates.
Kentucky's not a great offensive. Wisconsin's a great offensive team. Kentucky's a great defensive team. Kentucky's a very good offensive team. I think Wisconsin's a pretty good defensive team. So it's a great matchup. I think it's a 50-50 game. I really do. I don't believe. I know Kentucky's a favorite in Las Vegas, but I don't believe that. I think it's a 50-50 game.
Jeff, I would agree that it's a toss-up game.
We know that Wisconsin fans are some of the best in the nation, but Danica found one who tops the list.
It takes years to master it.
Fred picked up the accordion in first grade. Plain paid part of his way through undergrad and master's degrees at UW.
Z, boom, torero. Ring out a song of good cheer. Now it's time to roll the barrel, for the gang's all here. And I have a saying, it's hard to be humble when you're from Wisconsin.
Well, he needs to give you some of those W pants.
Right? They are the sweetest looking things I've ever seen.
Well, thank you, Danica. But you know what? There's something else that is almost as anticipated as the game itself.
Yeah, for 28 years, CBS has ended its NCAA championship broadcast with one shining moment, and a guy named Tom Blair has been responsible for making the final edits for the last 22 years.
It's put together looking at the entire tournament. So there's a tremendous amount of footage that the folks in New York have to go through. A guy named Shelley Goldmark is the editor who does a lot of the heavy lifting on the piece. And he wades through and tries to find those moments that characterize the most memorable events of the tournament. And it's an enormous undertaking. It's a nail-biter at the end. We don't have a lot of time, and there's a lot to do in a very small amount of time, and there are so many great shots. It's a wealth of content to choose from. It makes it tough.
But it's an honor, too, isn't it?
Oh, there's no question. No question that working on this is an honor because of what all of the student athletes and coaches and parents and all of these, people from top to bottom have put into it. And you feel like, you got to deliver. You got to sum up the Herculean effort of all of those people in 3 minutes and 5 seconds, because that's all it is, 3 minutes.
But you managed to do it year after year.
It isn't done yet.
Again, the schedule tomorrow at 5:07 Madison time, Michigan State and Duke, followed by Wisconsin and Kentucky. We thank you for joining us from Indianapolis. Enjoy the games and have a great weekend. Good night.